It started weeks before the dinner. A faint trace of perfume that wasn't mine clung to Evan's jacket. The kind of scent that stays even after guilt is washed away. He said it was from a client's hug. I said nothing. Silence always reveals more than questions ever do. His phone began to face down on the table. His smiles lasted too long after every text. He came home late, smelling of bourbon and half-truths. I counted the nights he didn't call. 7 in 2 weeks. Patterns always tell a story if you're patient enough to read them. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Just curious. Curiosity can be sharper than rage. So I started to watch. Receipts times roots. He forgot that I handle numbers for a living. Numbers never lie. $3,000 missing from our joint account. Then 5 more, gone without a trace. Each withdrawal neat, planned, deliberate. Like someone building a secret life in small installments. I copied everything. Dates, account numbers, screenshots. Mila helped. She's my closest friend, and a lawyer who knows discretion like a second language. When I told her, she didn't gasp. She just said, "You want proof, not revenge." I nodded. Proof gives you control. Revenge just feeds the fire. So we started digging quietly. I told Evan I had early meetings. He believed it. He always believed anything that made me seem busy. I parked across from Lana's condo one morning. Rain dripped down the windshield, blurring the world into watercolor shapes. Then she appeared. Perfect hair, coral jacket, smiled too bright for a Tuesday. She jogged to her car and drove off. I followed, heart steady, mind cold. 20 minutes later, she pulled into the parking lot of the fertility clinic. I read the sign twice to be sure. Austin Women's Fertility Center. Not a place for morning exercise. My hands didn't shake. They never do when everything finally makes sense. I watched her walk inside, her heels clicking like a countdown. Something inside me clicked too. Not pain. Precision. She wasn't just betraying me. She was building a lie that needed planning, money, and science. That night, Evan came home drunk again. He mumbled something about a meeting that ran late. I smiled, poured him water, and waited until he slept. Then I opened his laptop. The password hadn't changed in years. Inside, folders neatly labeled. Finances, clients, personal. Personal was locked, but the shortcuts told me enough. Emails, transfers, and a folder named L. I closed it. Not yet. Timing is everything. I lay beside him, his breathing slow and shallow. He looked peaceful, like a man unaware of the storm gathering beside him. I stared at the ceiling and whispered to myself. They think I'm blind. But they were wrong. I wasn't blind. I was watching. And I was done pretending not to see. The next morning began like any other. Evan kissed my cheek and left before sunrise. His lips were cold, his eyes elsewhere. When the door closed, I stayed still for a moment. The silence after a lie always sounds different. I opened my laptop and created a new folder. Evidence, I named it. Inside it, I saved screenshots, timestamps, every strange transaction. Patterns formed, like invisible strings pulling the truth closer. Mila called around 8. Her voice was calm, but I heard concern underneath. "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" she asked. I said, "I already started. Once you see the cracks, you can't unsee them." By noon, I was sitting in my car outside the fertility clinic. The same one Lana visited. I wore sunglasses, hair tied tight, patience sharper than steel. An hour later, she appeared again. Laughing with a nurse, holding a small white envelope. Hope wrapped in deceit. I took photos, noting the time and date. It wasn't heartbreak I felt. It was focus. Everything finally had shape, weight, direction. That night, I waited for Evan to fall asleep. His phone buzzed once. The name on the screen read L. I took a picture of it, then placed the phone back exactly as it was. No need to rush. Truth grows best in silence. The next day, Mila met me at her office. Stacks of papers, legal pads, coffee gone cold. She handed me a flash drive. Financial history, traced to offshore accounts, she said. Evan was stealing from his own company. The same company where I helped build the numbers he forged. The irony almost made me laugh. Almost. Keep going, I told her. We spent hours connecting dots others tried to hide. Every document was a confession waiting to be spoken aloud. Every email, a whisper of guilt. That evening, I returned home to find Evan pretending to work. His tie loose, his voice light. Long day, he asked. Very, I replied, smiling just enough to keep him comfortable. He poured himself whiskey. I watched him drink. Every sip, another lie swallowed whole. He had no idea I'd already memorized his schedule, passwords, and alibis. No idea that every secret he shared with Lana was now mine too. Later, alone in the bedroom, I opened my journal. I wrote one line. They think they're hunters. They've forgotten I know how to aim. Mila texted before midnight. Everything's set. We'll get the clinic records next. I replied with a single word. Perfect. I turned off the light and lay in the dark. The house felt hollow, like a stage before the play begins. Outside, thunder rolled somewhere far away. It sounded like applause. The kind given before the truth finally steps into the light. And I was ready to let it burn. 3 days later, I met him. Ryan. The name I'd seen on old photos tucked in Lana's drawer. Her ex. The one she swore was ancient history. He looked older now, tired around the eyes but steady. We met at a small cafe far from downtown. He arrived cautious, scanning the room before sitting down. You're Lana's sister, he said, not a question. Yes, I replied. She's pregnant. His eyebrows lifted. That's what she told me too, he muttered, voice low. I slid a folder across the table. Inside were copies of insurance documents from the fertility clinic. Highlighted lines marked his name, his ID, his policy number. He stared at it for a long time. Then whispered, she used me. I nodded once. She used both of us. He leaned back, running a hand through his hair. Anger flickered beneath his calm. I thought she wanted to try again, he said. She said she missed me. I didn't respond. Some lies are too familiar to need repeating. Finally, he asked, what do you want from me? The truth, I said. Help me prove who the father is. He looked away, then back at me. His jaw tightened. Fine, I want to know too. I took out the consent form I'd brought. He signed it without hesitation. His signature was firm, like someone cutting ties with the past. We arranged the DNA test that afternoon. The nurse took samples quietly, unaware of the storm outside the sterile room. When it was done, Ryan turned to me. What will you do if I am the father? Nothing, I said softly. It's not your fault. He nodded, grateful for an absolution he didn't ask for. 3 days passed. I barely slept. Not from fear, but from anticipation. When the results came, I read them twice. Then a third time. Probability of paternity, 99.8%. Ryan Hunt. Father. No doubt, no loopholes, no way out for Lana. I called Mila. It's done, I said. Her voice stayed steady. You have what you need. I looked at the papers spread across my desk. Each page a weapon crafted from truth. Each word another piece of their downfall. Ryan texted later that night. Thank you for telling me, he wrote. I replied, you deserve to know. He didn't answer again. Some truths don't need conversation. They just need air. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine. The first I'd allowed in weeks. I watched the liquid swirl, dark and calm like my reflection. They thought I would break. They thought betrayal would silence me. But all it did was sharpen me. By morning, I decided how this story would end. Not with tears. Not with begging. But with order, evidence, and consequences. The truth was no longer a wound. It was my weapon. And soon, it would be theirs too. I spent the next week turning chaos into architecture. Every document was a brick. Every receipt a mortar. I printed bank statements until my printer steamed. I highlighted transfers with a fluorescent pen. I labeled each file with blunt, clinical names. Embezzlement. Insurance fraud. Conspiracy. I called the country club and reserved the Magnolia Room for 9 a.m. sharp. I asked for a projector and a podium with a microphone. I requested security to be discreetly present. The manager asked if this was a celebration. I said it was a family meeting. Mila coordinated with Meridian's legal team to freeze suspect accounts. Joel compiled email strings into chronological timelines. He color-coded them so I could tell a story at a glance. Braden agreed to be ready to sign anything if needed. Ryan texted that he was available to confirm paternity if requested. I practiced my opening lines in the mirror until the cadence was exact. No tears. No tremors. Just calm, measured delivery. I rehearsed transitions between slides until my finger never hesitated. I arranged 3 identical manila folders on my desk with names on the tabs. Marshall, Lana, and Mother. Each folder contained tailored revelations. Medical results went in front of Marshall. Financial trails and shell companies rested under Mother's tab. Clinic receipts and the paternity report sat before Lana. I wrote down questions I would ask each of them. I prepared responses for every excuse they might throw at me. I tested the audio recorder and hid backups in my handbag. I asked the club to dim lights for the projector and nothing else. I bought a simple black dress that read authority without flash. I polished my father's old pearls until they shone like a promise. On the eve of the meeting, I slept like stone. Not from peace. From readiness. At dawn, I packed my briefcase with precision. I checked for extra batteries, ink, and copies of everything. I left a note that said I had an early client meeting. Then I drove straight to the club, not home. My hands were steady as I set the folders in precise order. Staff confirmed the seating, and the projector timed to my clicker. I stood at the head of the table and breathed in until my lungs felt full. This was not vengeance. This was an unmasking. And when they arrived, they would see themselves reflected in every document I placed on the table. At 9:47, the text arrived. "They're here," the receptionist wrote. I looked at the closed doors and exhaled once. Lana entered first, glowing in that coral dress again. Mother followed, pearls too bright, smile rehearsed. Evan trailed behind, rumpled and uneasy, eyes scanning for exits. I didn't greet them with warmth, only with silence. They took their seats, glancing at the folders laid before them. "What is all this?" Mother asked, tone sharp with irritation. "Family matters," I said. Evan tried to reach for my hand. "Let's talk privately," he murmured. "Everything worth saying will be said here," I replied. Lana's voice trembled, fragile but manipulative. "I never meant to hurt you, sister. Love isn't something we plan." Mother placed a hand on her shoulder. "Family forgives," she said gently. I pressed the button on the remote. The projector hummed to life. The first slide appeared in cool blue light. Evan's medical results. Diagnosis, azoospermia. Complete infertility. I spoke evenly. "These are results from 2 clinics, taken 3 months apart. Evan's face drained of color. Lana half rose from her chair. "This is fake," she snapped. "The clinic's number is printed at the top," I said. "Call if you'd like confirmation." Mother's lips tightened. "Darcy, this isn't necessary," she whispered. "It's overdue," I answered. Next slide. DNA results. Probability of paternity, 99.8%. Father, Ryan Hunt. Lana froze. Tears filled her eyes, but I saw no remorse. Only panic. "You can't do this," she cried. I already did. The third slide filled the screen. Financial transfers from Evan's company. $247,000 missing. Offshore accounts. Mother's new house purchased for the same amount. Mother's eyes widened, the mask slipping. "That's absurd," she hissed. I pressed another button. Audio played from the speakers. Evan's recorded voice. "Her mother's house is safe. Darcy never checks that account." Then Lana's laugh followed. "Poor Darcy, always the last to know." Silence fell like a hammer. Evan stood, hands trembling. "Darcy, I can explain." I cut him off. "You already have, for 7 years." I moved to the next file. Emails between the three of them, planning to humiliate me at my birthday dinner. Mother rose, shaking. "If you'd been a better wife." "If you'd been a better mother," I said, voice steady as ice. Lana bolted for the door. Security stepped in, blocking her path. I turned to Evan. "Meridian's legal team received this evidence this morning. You've been suspended." He froze as 2 officers entered the room. "Evan Cole," one said, "you're under arrest for corporate fraud." Mother gasped. "You'll regret this, Darcy. Blood is thicker than water." I gathered my folders. "The only thing thicker here," I said softly, "is denial." As they led him away, Lana sobbed, mascara streaking down her face. I didn't look back. The door closed behind me, with the sound of finality. 3 months later, silence finally sounded like peace. The new apartment smelled of coffee and rain. No traces of Evan's cologne, no echoes of arguments. Just space. I unpacked the last box, books lined neatly on the shelf. Every spine straight, every color where I wanted it. No one to rearrange them. No one to criticize order. Mila texted that she'd be stopping by soon. I smiled for the first time that felt real. While folding the empty boxes, something slipped from a folder. An old envelope. Yellowed at the edges. My father's handwriting, curved across the front. For Darcy. I sat on the floor, heart beating like a memory. Inside, a single sheet of paper, words written in faded ink. He wrote about love, about strength, about seeing me. "You are not cold," he said. "You are controlled. That's power, not distance." Tears came fast and hot, unstoppable this time. I didn't wipe them away. For once, I let myself feel everything. Grief, relief, release. By the time the doorbell rang, I was lighter. Mila stood there with takeout and a bottle of wine. She paused when she saw my face. "You're crying," she said softly. I nodded. "Found something from my father." She didn't ask to read it. Just hugged me, quiet and certain. After a while, she said, "There's news." Evan's trial was scheduled for next month. The company found more embezzlement going back 5 years. Mother's house had been seized as part of restitution. Lana lost custody of her child to Ryan. The court called her unfit, manipulative, unstable. I listened without triumph. Justice doesn't always feel victorious. Sometimes it just feels necessary. Mila handed me another envelope. "The fertility clinic sent it," she said. "They offered free counseling and treatment whenever I was ready." I placed it on the counter, unopened. Some futures can wait. We poured wine and toasted to quiet things. "To new beginnings," she said. "To freedom," I answered. My phone buzzed with a familiar name. Lana. I watched the screen light up, then fade. No hesitation. I silenced it and set it face down. The sound of the city drifted through the open balcony door. Cars, wind, laughter from somewhere below. I walked outside, glass in hand. The sunset stretched across the sky, bold and endless. They expected me to fall apart, I said quietly. Mila joined me, leaning against the railing. But you didn't, she replied. I smiled. No, I said. I built something else instead. The air was warm, steady. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like surviving. I felt like living. Tomorrow would bring choices. Maybe chaos. But tonight there was calm. And that was enough. Night settled gently over the city. Lights flickered in distant windows like fatting stars. The balcony air was cool against my skin. Below, the streets hummed with life I no longer feared. Mila had gone home, leaving laughter in her wake. I stood alone, glass half full, heart even fuller. For the first time, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned. The wind brushed my hair, soft as a promise. I thought of Evan, of Lana, of every lie that burned itself out. They were ghosts now, weightless and irrelevant. The world hadn't ended when they betrayed me. It had simply begun again. I looked at the horizon, where night met light. Freedom doesn't roar, I realized. It whispers. It waits until you're ready to listen. I raised my glass toward the city below. To endings, I murmured. To beginnings that don't need approval. Somewhere, a siren wailed and faded into distance. I smiled, slow and certain. They expected me to collapse. Instead, I learned to stand taller. And from this balcony, I could finally see everything clearly. Not the ruins behind me, but the life waiting ahead.